Hey everyone, this is Andrew Nagel with Valk9 Designs, and we're back for the final part of this start to finish ring series that we've been working on for the past couple of weeks. We're basically just going to be working on the polish, and then we're going to be oxidizing this piece for the final look. The first thing we need to do is examine the ring for any tool marks that we might have left on the metals. And so we're just going to be buffing those out with a silicone disc before we move on to polishing the whole piece. We want to make sure that we even down those tie down points at the end, and what we're going to use to do that is a 6 micron silicone disc. This 6 micron leaves a pretty nice polish, but it also does pretty decent work at removing material as well. It's a bit safer for the stones, but that doesn't mean that you should hit the stones with this. Try to avoid the stones as much as possible. You could also use any of the rougher grits of these silicone discs to remove the tool marks that you might have left on your pieces, but you don't want to hit the stones with these discs. These are also great for evening out the tips of your tie down points, so that way your end wire connections are smoothed over and they can't snag on anything then, and they're just nice and smooth, so that way no one feels it when they wear the ring. It's also just a great little tool to help polish up the inside, but I was having a little bit of trouble fitting it inside of the band, so what I decided to use is one of these finer grit Eve Pumice bullet. These are 16 millimeter. I'll leave a link in the description for these. There's also a ultra fine version of these that is great for polishing finite areas. I'll leave the item numbers for Rio Grande for those two bullet points in the description. The next thing we're going to be using is the 3M Bristle discs. We're going to be using a progression of the blue to the pink to the peach to the green, and we're going to be utilizing these to give a nice even finish to the whole piece. Again, you want to work out those rougher tool marks before you move on to utilizing the 3M Bristle discs to polish up the whole piece. We're going to start with the 400 grit blue silicone disc. This is great for starting off with a nice kind of polished finish. I decided not to take this to one of the lower grits like the 80 or the 220 just because I felt that the silver was already pretty shiny and I didn't really want to take it down all the way when there wasn't really a need to. I felt the 400 grit would take it down to a fine enough point and then I could progress up from there. So the next one we're going to use is the Pumice grit, the pink bristle disc. These are fantastic for polishing the hard to reach areas. They do remove some material at higher RPMs, so when you're utilizing a flex shaft or a rotary tool, try to use it at not such a high RPM. The little points will also start flying off of there too if you use it at too high of a speed. Then the next one we're going to be using is the 1 micron light green disc. After we use this disc, we're going to want to progress up to something just a little bit finer to get a nice shiny polish over the whole piece. So what I'm going to be utilizing is the ultra fine silicone disc. I'll leave a item number for Rio Grande in the description as well for this one. This is fantastic for removing some of those tool marks on the half round wire utilized over the stone, because this is safe on stones. It won't damage any of the stones that you have. I wouldn't, grind it on the opal for a long time, but it should be safe on the opal as well. And then we're going to so the silicone discs will leave these weird kind of almost splotchy polish marks, so I like to then re-go over the whole piece with the 1 micron light green 3M bristle disc just to kind of smooth out that finish. So now we're ready to hit it over with the oxidization, and what I use for my oxidizing is the Midas liver of sulfur gel. I prefer the gel over the concentrated like rock sulfites. I don't like using those. They don't seem to give it as nice of a finish as the gel does. So I use just an old jar. It's an old pickle jar, and we're going to string the ring onto a piece of floss, and then I've put in just kind of a drop or two of the liver of sulfur gel into the jar, and then as my water is boiling, I'm just going to pour my water in there. We're going to pull the ring out after just about 30 seconds of it being in there, and we've got a really nice oxidization on this ring. Really nice dark color all around. I like to make sure that we get an even dark color all the way around the whole ring before progressing on. So now what we're going to need to do is remove the top layer of this dark color. What you can use for that is the 6 micron or the Pumice 3M wheels. I have these larger 3M wheels that are like a 3 grit. Rio Grande unfortunately doesn't make these anymore. I grabbed a whole bunch a couple of years ago and I'm still just kind of utilizing them. These are fantastic, but again, you can also use the 6 micron or the Pumice to slowly remove that top layer of the oxidization, and then that leaves kind of that underlayer of the oxidization, leaving a nice contrast between the shiny silver and the darker undertones. And so don't use the pumice or the 6 micron on the stones. What I use to remove the oxidized portions from the stone settings is a yellow sunshine cloth. The blue one also works, but the yellow seems to remove the material just a little bit quicker. And then after I've gotten the material removed, I like to go over the piece again with the 1 micron light green bristle disc. I just like to smooth out the oxidized look. This, will remove any of the remaining layers of oxidized pieces from the silver and leave it with a nice high polish look. And as you can see with the oxidization, that really gave the backing silver behind the opal a nice dark contrast, and thus allowed the opal to pop in color a bit better. Once we've gone over the whole piece and made it look nice and even, again, you can kind of see with the pumice wheels that they leave kind of a splotchy texture, so I like the 3M bristle discs that leave a nice, even, shiny texture for the whole piece. So here we are with the finished piece. I hope you all enjoyed making this. Again, you can always utilize different stones or, different patterns in your weaving to create a unique design for yourself. And so yeah, please let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I hope you all enjoy your weekend.